afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to the latest edition of the Yorkshire Football Podcast. I'm Dom, your host, and I am joined by three other Yorkshire football fans. In the left top corner, oh no, we're on Zoom, you can't tell that. It's Adam Etherington, Leeds United fan. You right, Ads?
Dom, how you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, not bad, thank you, mate. Anything exciting going on in the world of Leeds United? No, thought not. In the bottom left corner, it is Mike Helinski, Bradford City fan. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Dom. How are we? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. You're a rose between two thorns as I introduce our third guest for the podcast. It's Tom Carnduff, also a Leeds United fan, but an advocate of football in Yorkshire in general. Am I right, Tom?
Yes. Just want the best team to win, etc., and all that. Apart from Bradford, but most of the other ones, then yeah, I'll back them.
Can you knock an Indy? Oh, you can kick someone out. Interesting. That's what I'm knowing. Right, on this week's show, we're going to be looking at their best Yorkshire 11s. The teams made up of players who have only played for one Yorkshire squad. It was a difficult task at hand, but the lads reckon that they've absolutely nailed it, so we'll be going through those. Let's get cracking. Lads, firstly, another week of isolation, another podcast from remote locations. How are you faring?
I don't know if this counts as an essential purchase, but I had a big beer delivery come today. That was the highlight of my lockdown. Big box of it came in. Fantastic.
It is
They
essential.
were meant to come Friday, but
Any purchase that boosts morale is essential in a time of misery, surely.
and I didn't go out to get it. Ordered it to me. Doing the responsible thing, I think.
Yeah, very responsible. Ads, what about you, mate? You look like a right miserable bugger.
Well, I've got a week off this week, so I'm basically just doing what I have been doing, but doesn't involve logging onto my laptop quite as much. So plenty of Madden NFL. Got a good career mode going with one of our listeners, Josh Fisk. And yeah, it's my missus's birthday tomorrow, so that'll be nice to celebrate that by not leaving the house. And yeah, I'm all right.
Anything nice planned for a mate? You bought her a Leeds United shirt or something?
I have. I would say I'll tell you what I've got, but because this will be going out after a birthday, but I think she might be in the next room listening. So, but no, I ain't got a Leeds shirt.
Is it that black mamba I can see on bedside table there?
She's already got one.
Is that what you call yours? Anyway, moving swiftly on. Mike Helinski, Bradford's favourite Ukrainian. How's your mental health?
All good, mate. All good this end. Obviously, a cracking weekend in Costa del Bradford. Sun was shining, the beers were flowing, mate. Lit up the barbecue. So, yeah, good, mate. Positive, feeling well. Making the most of lockdown, mate, in the sunshine.
I love that you go into post-match interview mode when you get asked the question. Well, Gaffer, yeah.
Mike, so how were your beers today? Yep, so great start. Got off good first half with 3 Stellas, 2 Budweisers, in good position. But from there, we just went downhill.
Fans were
slowed
excellent
up
as
in the
ever.
last 10 minutes, so I brought in the Jaeger.
Yeah, you were in a bit of bother, weren't you, Sunday morning?
Yeah, I had a sore head Sunday morning, chaps. I sunk a few beers and I went on to the Route 56, which is Jaeger and ginger beer. A nice little Jaeger cocktail I got from the Jaeger house at a festival I went to a few years back. Nice and refreshing drink. So, yeah, bit of a sore head Sunday.
Did we see Ray Parler on Twitter, by the way, talking to Jaeger?
Yes.
Did we all see that?
Oh, yeah.
He's Jaeger bomb, but he didn't have Red Bull, so he just put Cobra in it. Might try it. Very tempted to give it a try.
I've
that's not too
actually
bad.
drank worse alcoholic drinks than a Cobra bomb.
Oh, yeah. I mean, alcohol's not even nice.
Yeah, true.
I think Jaeger's the only thing that tastes nice. I mean, do you like in all honesty, do you like the taste of beer?
Yeah.
That is.
Depending on which beer.
More
though.
than Jaeger.
Like Carlsberg, terrible. Like beers like that, not very good, but yeah.
I don't like the taste of it. I drink it so that I'm socially accepted. That's the only reason.
Well, I bet you. Are you talking about beer or lager, Dom?
Both. I don't think either tastes particularly great.
Just a lot of lagers don't taste particularly good, but you can find some really nice beers.
Oh, there's a beer called Schofferhofer that's grapefruit beer. Now, put a fruit in a beer and I'm all over it. If it tastes like juice, I'm there. but the taste.
You're definitely a cider king, aren't you, Dom?
What's that?
You love ciders, don't you, Dom?
I don't mind a cider. I do, like a Scoopy Jack.
Once we're back together recording in the pub like we did for the first however many episodes, then we'll make it our mission, Dom, to show you a good beer and good tasting beer and how to finally enjoy it instead of in peer pressure.
Get a lovely banter Tetleys, lad.
I'm drinking Heineken. Does that make me unpopular?
a different one every week.
Heineken's all right.
Heineken's very nice.
Been to the Heineken factory in Amsterdam, actually. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I can taste the difference between Heineken and Carlsberg, if that makes me some sort of connoisseur.
Yeah, I mean, not to... we definitely take a Carlsberg sponsorship on the podcast, but...
I prefer it was a Yorkshire beer, something like Saltaire, maybe Tim Taylor's. I like Tim Taylor's.
I don't think we got Carlsberg after Mike singling them out of any beer he could have chosen in the world. Went straight at Carlsberg, so we've lost them.
Mike, they've gone out of their way to make significant improvements to the taste of their beer.
I don't care, lads. I only want to be sponsored by Yorkshire beer, lads.
Tetleys.
Yeah, let's get Northern Monk, give them a shout out. Like you said, Dom, Saltaire, Magic Rock Brewery in Huddersfield. That's another good one.
Bradfield Brewery in Sheffield, my favourite beer. Farmer's Blonde.
Tim Taylor's is the best.
Strong.
Landlord. Oh, get in.
Yeah, solid.
Right, enough of this bollocks chat. On to our best Yorkshire 11s. So the lads were tasked by Adam Etherington to pick the best Yorkshire 11. The only caveat was that each player can only have played for one single Yorkshire team. So, for instance, if you were to pick centre-half Robert Molinar, you wouldn't be allowed him because he's played for Bradford and Leeds. So the way we're going to go through it is I'll ask the lads for their goalkeepers. They'll tell them, they'll explain why, and the other lads can diss them or accept that is a great choice. Then we'll run through defenders, midfielders, and forwards. I don't know if we've done this, boys, but are we picking managers as well?
We'll have Bielsa, and then move on.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. Just get that out of the way with early.
The lad's not even picked up any Yorkshire dialect. He don't count.
How do you know? Nobody's heard him on the training ground.
No, that's true.
Translators could be an act.
If those boys are picking Bielsa, I think they've set the tone for the rest of the podcast. They're obviously picking players who have won nothing in their career then. So, yeah.
I think he found himself an Olympic gold medal 16 years ago. So,
so let's start with Adam Etherington. Adam, let's hear your Yorkshire goalkeeper.
Do you know what? I'm just trying to think of the best actual athlete who's not won an Olympic gold medal. And Bielsa has to say that he's better than that person. But yeah, we probably should add, Dom, the 11 teams that we have chosen for this challenge. So the 11 Yorkshire teams that we're classifying. So we've got Rotherham United, Sheffield Wednesday, Doncaster, Barnsley, Huddersfield, Leeds, Hull, Sheffield United, Bradford, and we've also thrown in York City and Middlesbrough. So they're your 11 if you want to have a go from home. We'll tweet ours out and have a go at this challenge. It does take a while, but at the end of it, it's quite rewarding. So, in goal, I have gone for my York City player in this position, basically because there's not too many other good choices for York, and it's Dean Kiley. Obviously, went on to a really good Premier League career, a number of clubs, solid keeper between the sticks, and I think some others might have gone for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, a decent goalkeeper. So they don't have to have been good at the Yorkshire team.
So, well, he does look.
He played a long time for York, didn't he?
Exactly. Yeah, he had a really good spell at York. Most of my team, I should add, I've gone for players who were good at this club, rather than I haven't gone for example. Well, Robbie Fowler wasn't bad at Leeds, but I haven't gone for like Robbie Fowler because I think there's been better players at Leeds. Okay. But yeah, Dean Kiley, 210 appearances for York. So then he earned, obviously, well, I say earned. He went to Bury afterwards and then Charlton. So yeah, I think that counts. Yeah,
it's as good a choice as any. Right, Mike, who's your goalkeeper?
Yeah, so just to set the criteria from my point of view, so I haven't gone for players who are best at their clubs because that wasn't asked of me when we got asked to do this. So I've gone for more of a career best 11 Yorkshire, which I think is fine.
It's all right, man.
But Starting in goal, same as Adam, is Dean Kiley. Purely based on if you go through York City's best players, he's up there. There isn't many sort of players who are going to have good careers. You're looking at your next one's probably Jonathan Greening, but he's obviously played for other Yorkshire teams.
What about Chris Brass?
It rolls him out straight away.
Chris Brass is the scorer of the greatest own goal of all time.
Is he a goalkeeper?
No, I was just saying he's a York City. Jonathan Greening's not a goalkeeper either, mate, but you threw him in there.
So anyway, Dom, can I explain my goalkeeper in here? So Dean Kindly.
Yeah, go on.
4 promotions he's had. He's had 4 promotions in his time across his career. A couple of Player of the Year awards. He's had, I think, 10 or 12 international appearances for the Republic of Ireland. So I think it's quite a solid show for goalkeeper and for a York City player.
Yeah, not bad. All right, so we've got 2 votes for Dean Kiley then. Tom, please tell me you've gone for somebody different.
Yeah, I've gone also mid-90s, but I've gone for my Middlesbrough option here in Stephen Pears, the father of the current Borough goalkeeper, Ainsley Pears. 327 appearances for Borough from mid-80s to mid-90s. Pretty significant. Set a club record at the time, 7 consecutive clean sheets as well. Got called up to the England squad during his time there, but Dion Dublin apparently broke Pears' cheekbones in a collision. So lengthy spell at Borough, solid goalkeeper, and for me, straight in, an absolute certainty. If you can play that many games for a club like Borough, you'll be all right in my team. Straight in the back, Stephen Pears for me.
I think we should have had some stricter guidelines by Effrington here. I think we've got players here we've never heard of / seen. So whenever he were playing, like, how many years after were you born, Tom?
He left Borough in '95, and I was born in '94. But to be fair,
the rules. You can, if you're choosing this, you can set your own rules. So you don't have to do. If like me, you want to do players who were good at that club, then do it. Go ahead. If you want to do biggest names and all-time greats in that club, then do it. I've also gone for players who I think I've watched all of them play at least on TV before. But Tom, forgive me for shooting you down early, but Stephen Pears better than Mark Schwarzer?
Well, I looked at Mark Schwarzer. He was an option. But
he played for Bradford.
He played for Bradford.
He played for Bradford for 4 minutes.
Played for Bradford.
We bloody discovered him. Chris, come
back down now.
I've never been so offended in all my born days, lads.
To be fair, I'm with Adam because I selected Schwarzer first, and then realised that apparently he played 13 games for Bradford, so he was dropped. And Stephen Pears was the obvious choice after that, I think, if you want to borrow one.
13 best games of his whole career as well.
That's what he's often described as, I think.
Do you know what? Bradford City had so many goalkeepers from Middlesbrough.
Bradford City have ruined this game for everyone because they just signed everyone else who played for other Yorkshire clubs.
Ever played in Yorkshire before? Like Gary Walsh, we got him from Middlesbrough. We obviously sold Schwarzer to Middlesbrough. We had Connor Ripley. There was another guy who had long hair in the 90s. Can't remember his name.
Just to show everyone how ludicrous Mike's best players to play for in that shirt would be, Mike, you'd have probably chosen Victor Valdez if you were doing Middlesbrough, wouldn't you?
I would have gone for Pears. I would have gone for Pearsy.
Yeah, well, do you want to know an interesting fact about Pearsy? His dad was playing against Bradford City in the 1986 playoffs when Bradford lost out to them. He was in net for Middlesbrough, Mike. There you go.
Family of goalkeepers then, isn't they? Family of goalkeepers.
No, sorry, it was the I was reading it. It's not just something I've pulled off the top of my head, that. It was in the 1988 playoff semi-finals. Middlesbrough beat Bradford, and old Pears' father was in net.
Wow.
Stephen Pears. Anyway, on to defence. Tom, we'll start with you this time. Let's go across your full back four.
Right, okay, so yeah, we all gone back four, by the way. Anyone else gone for some fancy formations? Or
no?
I had back five, changed it to back four. So right back, Kyle Walker, Sheffield United. I think that's a pretty solid one for the career he's had. Obviously didn't play a massive amount at the Blades, but I mean, come on, you can't argue that he's not gone on and had a fantastic career. York. This is where I've got my York one out of the way, because York have never really been good, in my opinion. Andy McMillan, over 400 appearances throughout the entire 90s for them. A fan favourite at centre-back. He's straight in, alongside another favourite in Mick McCarthy.
Oh.
Got to have him.
Oh, yeah, legend.
272 appearances for Barnsley between 1977 and 1983. Absolute certainty. First name on the team sheet for me. A natural born leader at the back. So Walker, Andy McMillan at York, Mick McCarthy at Barnsley, and then my left back, I've gone for Paul Hurst, Rotherham. 438 appearances for Rotherham between 1993 2008. Obviously went on, had a managerial career, nearly did the impossible almost with Shrewsbury and getting them promoted as a manager, and has bounced around a few clubs since then. But so Sheffield United, York, Barnsley and Rotherham ticked off as part of my back four.
Tom, how split was you between Hurst and Scott Minto?
It was, for me though, Hurst, I think I've kind of been fond of him since that Shrewsbury run. I really enjoyed that. And then since then, I've kind of been quite fond of him. And then obviously the amount of games he played, because I think Minto didn't play as many, or in terms of he only hit about 50, 60, 70 around that mark, I think.
Yeah.
So for me, it's got to be Hurst in it, just on the sheer number of appearances that he made for the club.
That's
Sounds
a good
like
back
you should
four.
have made him manager of your team. Sounds like you should have made him the manager of your team, Tom.
He could be player manager, mate. Him Bielsa working alongside each other. Two great minds.
I've got a couple of potential player managers, actually.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, keep
I'll have an entire bench of player managers. I'm happy with
that. Mike, your back four.
Yeah, this is my strongest area, without doubt. A really good back four. A back four that would compete in the Premier League right now, without a doubt. So right back, I've gone same as Tom, with Carl Walker right back. I think it explains itself. Just look at the career he's gone to have, and what he's won as well. So yeah, and you think what he went for at the time, it was an absolute snippet. He went as a joint deal with Kyle Norton for 9 million for both of them. So again, what a deal Tottenham picked up there. My two centre backs are Rio Ferdinand from Leeds. For me, it's a no-brainer. One of the best centre backs to ever play in the Premier League. He went for 30 million. Obviously, broke the transfer record at the time. Alongside him, John Stones from Barnsley. And at left back, this is a little cheeky one. And I know I'm going to get shot down for this because he only went and played 8 games for this team. But for me, he's one of the best left backs in the Premier League now. And that's Ben Chilwell for Huddersfield Town.
Great choice.
Solid.
That's my back four.
Solid.
That's a good choice.
He was there when Wagner got the job, didn't he? I think, or just got the job, didn't he?
It was the year Leicester won the title. So he only played 3 games the year Leicester won the title for them, but it was in the cup competitions. So he didn't register for a medal that year because he didn't make one single league appearance. But
Sickener.
But still part of a Premier League winning team.
Yeah. Technicality.
Yeah. I think this again comes to where the different criteria is coming. And Mike's gone for big name over sort of someone who's been proven at that club. But Chilwell was good and impressive in his time at Huddersfield by all accounts. But I also again by my criteria, sort of cross-referencing it with yours, I'd have gone Radaby over Rio Ferdinand. I think what Radaby did at Leeds made a bigger impact. Probably reached equal heights. I know Ferdinand was more in the team when the club got to the last 4 of the Champions League, but I think for me what Radaby did, club legend, big European clubs were coming in and bidding for him as well. Fergie tried to get him at Man United, AC Milan tried to get him, and I think for me, again with my criteria, it'd be Radaby over Ferdinand. Ferdinand had a better career, don't get me wrong, but I think
what if Leeds go up at the end of the season, and you, in theory, this can't happen because we don't have time machines or anything. But if somebody said you can have Rio Ferdinand in his pomp at Leeds United, or you can have Lucas Radaby in his pomp at Leeds United to play centre half for Leeds United next season, who would you choose? That's a question to Tom and Adam, both Leeds fans.
If it's career, it's Ferdinand. If it's time at Leeds, for me it's Radaby.
But who was it? Was Radaby a better defender than Ferdinand at Leeds United?
Radaby had 2 or 3 years of really high level play, sort of when Leeds were first starting to get back into Europe, UEFA Cup runs, etc. Radaby at that point was being touted by the biggest clubs. Fergie tried to actually buy him, and that was at a time when Rio Ferdinand was still at West Ham. Fergie probably could have just gone and got Rio, but he wanted Radaby as the man to sort of step in there.
Yeah. Everyone always goes on about how Alex Ferguson signed this guy. Alex Ferguson wanted that guy. Alex Ferguson did also sign some absolute shite. It's worth mentioning.
He didn't sign much shite from other competing clubs in England, though. That was when he sort of really cherry-picked the best players to sort of keep them, below Man United.
Okay. Fair enough. So I think there should have been another rule in this where you're not allowed to have moved to Lancashire to play football. But anyway, I'm not gonna chuck another rule in. I'm not gonna chuck another rule in. So Adam, let's go across your back four.
So my back four, at right back, I've got the Bradford player out of the way, but I think he's a fairly decent right back in his time. It's Stephen Darby, obviously part of that Bradford team that did really well, getting to Wembley a few times. So a real sort of solid player in that position, and obviously going through really difficult times at the moment. But I think concentrating purely on his football career, a very solid player in that position. And then this is where my team really starts to take off. So at centre-back, I've gone with Phil Jagielka from Sheffield United and Gareth Southgate from Middlesbrough, one of my player-manager potentials there. Don't really need to say too much about those, both very solid England internationals. And then at left-back, I've gone with Andy Robertson from Hull. So earned a move to Liverpool off his time at Hull. And obviously since then gone on to have a great career, and he's one of the best left backs in the world. But I think at Hull as well, you could really see he was becoming this sort of top class left back. So yeah, back four: Derby, Jagielka, Southgate, Robertson, ticking off Bradford, Sheffield United, Borough and Hull.
Yeah, see, Derby's a good solid selection there. And Mike, I'll be honest with you, mate, I'm surprised you didn't go for Darbs.
I was split, and obviously it was the obvious choice with all the other Bradford players that we couldn't have because they've all played for other Yorkshire teams. But I just couldn't see past Walker. Again, I think that's because I'd said I did go for career-based more than I have gone sort of...
It's fair enough.
Best players for their club. But yeah, he's definitely up there. And when you hear my Bradford player, I think you will laugh that I should have gone for Derby. But again, I had to find someone who could play on the wing and not play for the Yorkshire teams, which was very difficult.
Yeah, well done, mate. You did very well. Before we move on to midfielders, I will say that we will publish all three of these teams on the Yorkshire Football Podcast social media feeds, and it'll probably be some sort of poll or something. You can vote whose side you think would fare best. Right, on to midfield. Helinski, let's start with you. Have you gone for a midfield four?
I have, yeah. I have indeed. There's a couple in here where I've had to sort of make a bit of sacrifice because of the better back four. But anyway, so right midfield is my Bradford player, and I've gone for Nicky Summerbee. Mainly focused on his time at Man City. Obviously, a very good career at Man City. He made a lot of appearances. Obviously, didn't make as many appearances for Bradford, but even during a bad time for Bradford, he was one of our better players, for sure. And I had an unbelievable right peg on him as well.
He flicked the V's at the Bradford fans. I was at Crewe, and everyone was shouting to him that he should cross it more, and he flicked us the V's.
I'll remove him then, Dom.
Genuinely, though, I've never seen anybody deliver a ball better than Nicky Summerbee.
Apart from Beckham.
Yeah,
but...
I think David Beckham was bad, but yeah, fair point.
Okay, so my two centre midfielders, really happy with this one. Middlesbrough is Mendieta. Don't get me wrong, I was split between Mendieta and Juninho, and they're both fantastic centre midfielders. But I remember at the time, I used to be a big fan of Mendieta. His flair and just looking at what he's won as well. He's got a pretty impressive career for himself. Copa del Rey, Champions League runner-up a couple of times. He's won the UEFA Intertoto Cup, Football League Cup, UEFA Cup runner-up. So again, pretty impressive career for himself. My other midfield alongside him, this is the one where I'm going to get a lot of stick, I imagine. But again, if you look at his time at Man City, where he played 200 odd plus games, Starting from that back four is Kevin Horlock, and he's my Doncaster Rovers centre midfielder. So again, not someone who was in his prime at Doncaster Rovers, but had a very good career with Man City, and got promoted with Man City as well, and he was the heart of their midfield. Out left is my Hull City selection, and it's the magic, on his day, unplayable, any skill you wanted to pull out of the bag is JJ Okocha. So my midfield four is Bradford City, Middlesbrough, Doncaster, and Hull City.
Strong, very strong.
Yeah, who'd have thought? Who'd have thought JJ Koch would be making a Yorkshire 11?
Yeah, exactly, Dom. I was just going to say with JJ Kocher, Bolton, Kevin Horlock, City, Summerby, City, John Stones, City, Rio Ferdinand, Man United, and Kyle Walker, Man City. I think Mike's thinking we're doing Lancashire football podcast this week.
Trophies, mate. The great swing trophies, and that's what it is, mate. That's what I've done mine off. If you look at Rio, if you're going to compare Rio and Lucas Radebe, Rio, 5-6 Premier League titles, Champions Leagues, League Cups, FA Cups, FIFA World Cup, no-brainer.
Right, it's not about the end result, though. It's about the journey, isn't it?
That's it. And
that's an unbelievable journey by Rio.
And that's why we're enjoying Marcelo Bielsa right now, isn't it, Tom? But
exactly.
Yeah.
Right, Adam, let's have your four.
Oh, I'm just going to tear into Mike's team again, but go on then. My midfield four, so on the right, I've gone with Lee Bowyer, and that's my Leeds selection. I think for a couple of years, when Leeds were, that early 2000s team, Lee Bowyer was, if he wasn't world class, he was right on the doorstep of it. Some of the goals he scored in that Champions League run, 6 goals in that campaign as well. Top scorer, I think I'm right in saying, in the competition. His general play was absolutely astonishing. I think if it weren't for a few sort of other matters going on, I think he'd have been a real regular in the England squad. Centre midfield, I've gone with Huddersfield and Barnsley, and those players are Aaron Moy and Conor Hourihan. So Moy, I think everyone's fairly sort of unanimous in agreeing that he's a Premier League player. Was absolutely gutted when Huddersfield signed him, actually, because I used to work at Opta, and remember watching him at Melbourne and really thinking this lad's a player and he can play. And then Huddersfield, Man City signed him and loaned him to Huddersfield, and I feel like, again, if he'd have gone to Leeds, could it have been a different story? Could we have gone up? Possibly so. Then Hourihan, like I said, earned his move to Villa off his Barnsley form. Great goal scoring midfielder, sort of old-fashioned midfielder, does a bit of everything. And now, again, I think Premier League standard player. And on the left, I've got my Donny selection in the form of James Coppinger. So absolute club legend, probably the best player in Donny's history. Flanners is the one who can sort of argue with that. But yeah, I think coming in off the left, really good player. And again, probably a second tier player, but for Donny, I think that's a really good shout, and maybe could have done it at a higher level.
Well, I think on this day, the day of recording, didn't James Coppinger score the goal that took Doncaster to the playoff final? Was it 2013?
No, promotion. Yeah, Donny had to draw, Brentford had to win, and Brentford hit the crossbar with a penalty. Donny ran up the other end. Billy Painter, I think it was, charged forward, slips it to James Coppinger, who, if you watch the video, nearly fucks it up.
Yeah,
the kind of ball just rolls out in front of him because of a bobbly pitch, and then taps into an empty net. Donny win the league.
I mean, everybody goes on about that Leicester-Watford game, but this is very similar, only the standard of football is like evidently much.
Oh, yeah. And it's because Brentford need to win. They've just got everyone up forward, haven't they? That's as soon as Pater's just waiting by the dugout.
I was going to say, have you ever seen a more fortuitous clearance in all your life?
Oh, my word. It was kind of half-targeted, half hope it hits him.
That's one of those games of Flanners, who's been on the pod a couple of times, Donny fan. He was at that game in the away end. I mean, can you imagine if that was your club? That would be unbelievable.
But even when
makes all the years of supporting worth it.
Even when it's not your club, you can watch a game like that, and it's like watching that Watford goal, and it's like watching the Aguero goal. It's like that's why you love footy, even though you don't support those teams. You still absolutely love and appreciate those moments. Yeah. Anyway, Tom. Let's have it from you. 4 minutes or less you've got. What's your midfield for?
Well, luckily on my timed thing, I've got 5, actually. And 3 of which have been mentioned. One that might mention Nicky Summerby out on the right midfield, because Bradford, again, the amount of players they've had that have played for other Yorkshire clubs He's literally the only one that I came across that I went, right, he's in a position I want him to be, and he's not played for anyone else. But Mike's kind of already explained him. I'll mention Aaron Moy as well, as I'd said there for Huddersfield. He was absolute standout star of that promotion team. A very, very solid Premier League midfielder as well. Just adjusted to the step up very easily, to the tenacity, the desire to win the ball. He's just absolutely everywhere. He's the perfect central midfielder for most teams. Sheffield Wednesday, a couple of defensive-based midfielders here, but Glenn Whelan as a wild card I went for, because I think he's had a very, very solid career, but played quite a long time at Hillsborough as well. So when it comes to picking out a defensive midfielder, if we will, I'd have very little issue in bringing him into the side. And then another midfielder, fairly defensive-based as well, being Ian Ashby at Hull. Played a significant part of his career there, near 250 appearances. He was there for near 10 years throughout the 2000s. A popular figure at Hull for obvious reasons as well. So when it comes to bringing in a midfielder, no issue with him being in that central part of the pitch, probably alongside Whelan in the defensive positions. And then out left, Doncaster, James Coppinger. We want a Doncaster pick. You can't look any further than him. Absolute servant to his club throughout his entire career. We mentioned it there, the Brentford game, but he's been involved in some big moments that not only in his career history, but in Donny history as well. So yeah, we're picking a Doncaster player. I mean, he's got to be up there every time. So my 5, Nicky Summerbee at Bradford, Glenn Whelan at Wednesday, Ian Ashby at Hull, Aaron Moy at Huddersfield, and then James Coppinger at Doncaster.
Interesting that you've gone for 5 there in midfield. Should mix it up if these teams were ever to face each other. Decent, strong midfield there, Tom. Another mention there for Nicky Summerbee. Did you know Kevin Phillips said that Nicky Summerbee was the best crosser of the ball he'd ever played with?
That's all right then. Be pinging him in my team. That's what I want.
Well, look how many goals Kevin Phillips scored. Probably wouldn't have done it without the old Summerbee.
True. For every prolific player, there's the supplier that goes with him.
Yeah, I've got a match-worn Nicky Summerbee shirt, actually.
You've got everything, though, ain't you? Any memorabilia, football-wise.
I'm all over
You're like Del Boy. You're the Del Boy of football memorabilia, aren't you?
I've also got a Paul Heckingbottom match-worn. But he played for a number of Yorkshire clubs.
I was going to say, which team we're on about here. But
you know, he never scored for Bradford City once and then went to Sheffield Wednesday and scored on his debut. Useless git.
It happens, though, doesn't it? It happens. It's the environment. It's the environment you're in sometimes. It just doesn't work out for certain players.
It does. And there was another vote for Coppinger there as well. Summerbee and Coppinger making up a nice Yorkshire midfield here. Who else did you have in there, Tom? Remind me.
I want to jump on what Tom said there about Ian Ashby. I think that's a right pick. That when I was looking at the whole players, it didn't even cross my mind. But now you said it, sort of, he's one of those midfielders that I would have just absolutely loved at my club. Like I sort of compare him to the Stuart McCall type midfielder, where loves a challenge. He's at the heart of the midfield. He's sort of dragging the team along when they need it. Obviously, he was captain of Hull, captain under Parkinson as well at Hull City. Obviously, made over 250 appearances for Hull, so I think that's a right shout, one that I didn't even pick up on. And I think for a heart of midfield, he sort of ticks the box for everything you want as a football fan. Okay, yeah, he might have not had the best talent to go play sort of at a higher level, but as a championship player, what a player he was, really, and consistent as well.
Yeah, absolutely solid, isn't he? Absolutely solid. When we're talking Hull players, you've hit the nail on the head there. He is one of those. The big point is he goes under the radar, doesn't he? I think from outside of Hull, because he's such a popular figure there. But with that team, with the Hull teams that kind of bounced in between potential promotion, etc., just constantly goes under the radar. Absolute solid pick for me in midfield.
I mean, midfield is obviously the position where we start looking at some of the more creative players to have played in Yorkshire. And I'm surprised players like Jimmy Bullard, they've not had a call up from you guys. You know, he's a really good creative player. Had a decent career.
I think with Hull, I just wanted to get Robertson in left back and then build around that. But yeah, I think, Tom, if you look at your team, I think one thing that stands out is just how tough it'd be to play against.
Yeah, I've gone for grafters. Basically.
McMillan and McCarthy, the double max at centre back. That very, very tough and sturdy. Summerby, Wheeler, and Ashby. Yeah, I think your team won't concede many goals. That's for sure. Like Don said, maybe slightly lacking creativity, but very, very solid team.
You don't need creativity when you're winning every game 1-0. That's the aim. That's the aim every single week, 1-0.
Okay, so we'll move on to forwards then. I didn't know what I was going to say then. The position where the majority of goals are going to come from each of your teams. Mike, we'll start with you. I'm guessing a front two.
Yeah.
Who have you got?
And my two choices for the front two are Rotherham and Sheffield Wednesday. So I'll kick off with Rotherham. Is Sean Gota. I think a lot of people, when I say that name, straight away think Man City, but I think you remember when Sean Gota came over to England, his first club was Rotherham. It took him a couple of years to settle in, but then his goal scoring record at Rotherham was pretty impressive. He scored 86 goals in 262 appearances, which really went on and sort of kick-started his career in England, going on to move to the likes of Bristol City, where he had a 1-in-2 goal record. He went to Man City, where obviously most people sort of remember his sort of prime, where he scored 84 in about 180 games. So really happy with that choice, and I think it's always a solid choice for Rotherham as well in terms of one of their best players that they've had. To go alongside Sean Gota, again, fiery character, has a bit of everything, has the attitude, he has the goals, he has the flair. You sort of don't know what you're going to get for him, but my pick for Sheffield Wednesday is the one and only Paolo Di Canio. Again, one of those players where you probably don't think of him in his prime at Sheffield Wednesday. You're going to think of the likes of West Ham, even maybe, obviously, the likes of Lazio. Again, at Sheffield Wednesday, he played 40-odd games for him, scored 15 to 20 goals. So, again, not a bad return. But, yeah, I thought he was just an obvious choice for me for Sheffield Wednesday. When he sort of ticks that box of what I like, that little bit of flair, creativity, and I like a bit of attitude in the team as well. He's sort of the one who's going to, he's going to be the fiery one in the changing room as well.
I think those two players getting on the end of a Nicky Summerby cross. Very exciting. Very exciting.
Unbelievable.
Adam Etherington, let's hear your front two.
So I don't have much else to add because I've got the exact same two as Mike Kalinske, mainly because I stole Sean Gota off him. But I think, instead of Summerby whipping the balls in, it'd be a bit of Lee Boy creativity and Aaron Moy slipping a pass through to him. But I think two really, really strong strikers and not too much to add.
Oh, well, that was nice and boring. Thanks, mate. Tom Carnduff, your front one, I believe.
One up top, just to hang around the halfway line, and we lump balls up towards him as we look to hit teams on the counter. So Leeds, obviously, they're the only team left to go. Annoyingly, the likes of Mark Viduka played for Middlesbrough, the modern-day heroes, more for kind of my age, the likes of Jermaine Beckford, Luciano Becchio, all played for other Yorkshire clubs as well. So it's a difficult one. But sticking along the lines of Paolo Di Canio, but his kind of limited appearance at the Yorkshire club, Tony Yeboah, can't look any further. 24 goals, 47 games at the club. Was prolific at Eintracht Frankfurt before that as well. We all know about the goals. We all know about the goals against Wimbledon and Liverpool. Won Player of the Year at the club, helped them finish runners-up in the League Cup as well. Something Leeds and Bradford fans can accept as happening. For me, when it comes to picking that striker, Tony Yeboah was the one that I went for.
Undoubtedly a quality player. Again, a player that would benefit massively from those Nicky Summerby crosses. But I don't think I've ever seen a player set himself up as well as Tony Yeboah did. I mean, both those goals at Liverpool and Wimbledon, he owes assist credit to himself because I've never seen...
There's more as well. If you have a look on YouTube at some of his goals from his time at Leeds, he wasn't at the club long, but he scored a hat-trick in the UEFA Cup away at Monaco. Again, some absolutely brilliant strikes in there. It's just one of those players which he will always be remembered in the Premier League because of those strikes, and rightly so. Just a real shame that George Graham actually was the one who sort of got rid of Yeboah, and I think that was definitely one that you can file under gone too soon. But
Well, I think he was a really strong character, wasn't he? And I don't think George Graham was too keen on that. George Graham don't like anyone who's outspoken or
that's it.
Spoken over in the dressing room. There's an amazing story about Tony Yeboah. I mean, it's away from his time at Leeds United, but I'm just trying to remember the details exactly. But when he was at Ghana, he was part of the international coaching setup at Ghana, and he had a fallout with the head coach, and they had this blazing row in like a hotel foyer. And he said, "I'm gonna sleep with your wife." When they had this fallout, anyway, he did. Just went and did it.
I mean,
do what he wants. When you're Tony Yeboah, you call it. You do what you want, don't you?
He's a man of his word. To be fair,
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
man of his word.
When you were teeing that story up, I was going to come back with a bit of banter and say I said that to Mike, but then when you finished the story, I thought I'd better not.
I'll be honest with you, lads. There's been some glaring omissions that, just two that I can think of. Or three, maybe, if you include David Seaman. So obviously, probably Yorkshire's greatest ever goalkeeper. He didn't, technically speaking, play for a Yorkshire club, but he was on the books at Leeds United as a professional. So fantastic.
So was that lad at Westlife. We could have had him in.
Oh yeah.
What's his name? Do we put him in as well?
At least he got into a team photo as well, didn't he? That lad standing next to John Luke.
Nicky Byrne.
Fucking name, Nick. That's it. Yeah.
John Lukic. He could have been another. He didn't play for another Yorkshire team, did he?
There's all those. I don't know. I'm just looking up Nicky Byrne and phenomenal.
It's the Thistle Hotels
goalkeeping kick.
It's the Thistle Hotels kit, isn't it?
The orange one.
I mean, there are bigger players than Nicky Byrne that we've missed out here, lads. What about Janino?
Yeah,
This is a consideration.
I did have Janino in at one point, but then when I had a bit of a reshuffle after thinking of Gota, and that meant Southgate went centre back and Janino left.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't prolific as a goal scorer, Janino, and I think he's probably fondly thought of in Middlesbrough because they couldn't believe they'd managed to sign somebody as flamboyant and as skillful and as exotic as Janino in Middlesbrough. I mean, God knows how they managed to prize him back to Middlesbrough 3 times.
He was a definite consideration for my team, but like I think it was more of a positional thing where I kind of was left with Middlesbrough having to be the goalkeeper. So unfortunately for him,
I mean,
he had to be sacrificed.
Janino actually won the World Cup in 2002 with Brazil.
Was he part of that squad?
Yeah.
Jesus.
And he won a bronze medal at the 1996 Olympics.
Well, that's bigger than the World Cup, I think. I'm glad you put that after saying, "Oh, he won the World Cup and got a bronze medal."
It's an Olympic medal. Another glaring omission: John Stones at Barnsley.
I had Stones in. Stones in.
Oh, yeah, Stones.
If you're listening to this, get in touch with us on Twitter. Is there anybody else who's a big miss here who could have made those 3 squads? Like we said, we will be putting all 3 squads on Twitter, and you'll be able to vote on who you think would win. If we had more time on our hands and the technical knowledge, we could have maybe simulated these games. But can't be bothered, really.
I'll mess around on Football Manager. There might be a patch somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, what to get all of these players in the same team? You can do that, can't you? You can make your own players.
Yeah, we'll do it on FIFA or something. We'll just sim it, see what happens.
Yeah, you do it, Tom. You're young.
All right, yeah, I've got nothing else to do, mate. So might as well.
This is a genuine conversation that we had at work. Tommy's been forced to take holiday because he won't.
I just love the graph too much, mate. And now we can't go out. I may as well work and do something.
Well, why don't you take?
You could take a leaf out of his book.
Take some days. Mate, I was in the same meeting. I don't take holiday either.
He only turned up late and was like, "Oh yeah, me too. Yeah."
So yeah, shut up, Mike. But yeah, Tom, take a few days off. Commit yourself to the Yorkshire Football Podcast, and give our 40 listeners what they want.
All right. Okay. I'll have a look at it. I'll get it going.
Simulated football matches.
Yes.
Thank you, mate.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So some good squads there, some great solid 11s. I'm going to come round to each of you now and ask for your Yorkshire managers. Same rules, they can't have managed another Yorkshire side, and they ideally are not have not come from or managed in Lancashire. That's not an official rule. I'm just making that one up. So, best Yorkshire managers. Let's start with Carney. Tom Carnduff. What are you thinking?
Marcelo Bielsa. He's got a fucking stadium named after him. I mean, come on. That's when it goes to significant managers. He's got to be up there for Yorkshire clubs.
But it's worth knowing he's not achieved anything for Leeds United.
Well, you say that, but you're looking too much at honours. For the pure influence he's had on world football, the amount of players, the amount of staff, the amount of fans who just love this guy and idolise him. He's got like a cult following that goes with him. The amount of times I've been at Ellen Road working, and you see there's people there in Bilbao shirts with Bilbao flags that come along. People come from Argentina and stay in the same hotel as him just in case they bump it, and basically hang around the lobby all morning so they can bump into him and get a photo. This guy is an absolute god of football, and I mean, he's an absolute shoo-in. Yes, you can look at things he's won, etc., but when it comes to reputation, you're not going to get any higher than this guy, and I don't know if we ever will, to be brutally honest, with that reputation he brings.
You shouldn't always rely on reputation, mate. I had a reputation for being a right one at school, putting it about a bit, and guess what? I never did.
I'll consider that when I next bring up Bielsa as a potential. I'm going a few of the players. Yes, necessarily they may not have done much at the Yorkshire clubs, although he's done a lot at Leeds. He's just next level when it comes to reputation. One of the highest profile managers this county has seen and probably will ever see.
Maybe. Helinski, let's come to you because we know where Adam's going, don't we? So let's come to you.
Yeah, I'll be honest, a bit of a struggle this one because I didn't become prepared for this. And obviously, if I can't choose my two favourite Bradford managers again because they've managed over Yorkshire team, surprise, surprise. Yeah. I think, again, this is not my era. So I'm more sort of going off the stories I've heard about him, obviously looking at his trophy cabinet alone. But I think it's got to be Cloughy. I think Brian Cloughy's got to be up there to manage that team. So you've watched the film about him. Obviously, hear the stories like from my dad about him. Obviously, I know what he's won. So I think for me, again, sticking to that being successful, I think I'm going to have to go with Cloughy on that one.
I mean, I think that's a great shout.
Can I jump in one of my all-time great football stories? One of my ultimate fangirl moment was when I was working at Hull v Leeds years ago, and a guy who runs one of the club media basically said, I'll just give you a lift back to Leeds. And because Eddie Gray works for the club media, I got to sit in the back of the car with Eddie Gray through significant traffic jams, etc., which meant it took about 2 hours to get back to Leeds. We talk about absolutely everything, which included the Brian Clough era at Leeds. And yeah, pretty much everything you hear from the stories was true, which is just absolutely exceptional. The medals in the bin and all that. It's not fake news, as someone once said.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of football's great characters, isn't he? I mean, somebody that holds. I mean, that's reputation, mate. Yeah. Everybody knows a Brian Clough story.
Yeah. 100%.
Nobody knows a Bielsa story, apart from that he's a bit weird.
That's harsh.
I'm not biting.
That is harsh. I mean, the Damned United was on the other weekend. It's one of those because you're in lockdown and nobody goes to sleep at normal time. It was about 1 a.m. and I thought, right, I'm going to go to bed. And Damned United started, and you have to stay up because it's such a right film, man.
Actually, I'm going to buy it. There is a couple of really good Bielsa stories. There's the one about how he turned up. I really am paraphrasing here. Tom, you probably know better. He turned up at the training ground with a grenade or something in his time.
Yeah, apparently back when he was proper El Loco, angry fans gathered outside of his house to protest or whatever, and he basically just went out of a hand grenade and said he's going to blow everyone up if they don't leave. Which I want to know why he's got a hand grenade anyway, just in case. That's one of his most infamous stories, isn't it?
But why would anyone be protesting a faultless manager who's never done anything bad?
It doesn't say faultless. It doesn't say
protesting because he was too good.
I think that's it. They were protesting for the fairness of football and the fact that they weren't giving anyone else a chance to win, which is quite honourable, really.
Sure.
There is also the one around again, Tom, you probably know better, but Bielsa, did he get in some sort of like scuffle with a police officer and pushed him or something, and they went and handed himself into the police station instead of getting arrested?
Pussy!
Yeah. There was one where, and then I think that might be the same story where basically they confiscated his football off him or whatever, and he refused to leave until they gave him his football back and stuff like that. And it's like, it must have been an absolute nightmare as a kid, just because he loved football so much.
I love how you guys are backing a criminal then, because are you saying basically, okay, if I did an offence, pushed a police officer over, punched a police officer, but then walked down to the police station, handed myself in, that you boys, oh no, yeah, fair play to him, he's punched a copper, but he's handed himself in. Would you boys back me like that? Or
I'm not sure punched a... this might be getting into libelous territory. I'm not sure he punched a copper. Something happened, and he went and handed himself in, and I think, I'd take my out to Mark. I'd say fair play, massive respect.
I think what Mike was doing there was keeping up with all the other Bielsa stories, which is blowing them up out of all proportion.
Jealousy,
anyway,
it's an ugly trait, boys.
Bielsa, it's no surprise, Bielsa is my choice. I love the man, and I think if we go up this season, we can qualify for European competitions, plural.
What about...
I think it's title after title, isn't it, soon, to be fair, if Leeds go up.
Jesus.
But why...
I think it's a dynasty.
Why aren't you going for, like, Don Revie?
Well, I should. Yeah, this is another caveat. I've gone for players that like I said at the start, players that I've at least seen on TV. If this is all time, I don't think any of these players would make it. And obviously, Leeds have had some absolutely glorious teams down the years, as have most of Sheffield Wednesday on multiple FA Cup winning sides. Huddersfield won 3 in a row back in the early bloody 18th century, whenever it was. But yeah, I think all time, none of these make it in. This is just players I've seen, and I think I've still got some really good players in, like your Southgates, Robertson, Boyers, your Canios, Jagielkas, etc. So yeah, I should caveat that.
I'm going to throw somebody in who it might sound surprising on the outset, but when you look at his record and what he's achieved in football, he deserves to be on this list. And he has managed another Yorkshire side, but they're not included in our 11 list. So hopefully I'm allowed to sneak him in. And that's Chris Wilder.
That'd be a very solid choice.
What an unbelievable manager. The promotions he's had at teams. I mean, he managed Halifax Town, so I'm cheating a little bit, I guess. But the success he had at Oxford and at Northampton, and now, obviously, with Sheffield United, where not only has he gone in there and turned them around as a team and got them successive promotions, but also turned them into what looks like what they're going to be, a European team. They're going to be able to compete against Europe's finest, hopefully by the end of this season. And has any manager ever done anything like that? To have worked his way up through football like he has, and then to go to a club where he's already pretty well thought of and take them up into the Premier League and do as well as he had, created this solid football team that are playing what I would consider to be like a traditionally Yorkshire way of playing football, where you really graft for every single result you're getting, and you're not playing a particularly classy style of football, but you're playing like a good old-fashioned stick-it-to-'em sort of game of football. And for me, my manager would be Wilder if I picked a team.
Yeah, I think
solid. You've got a solid argument.
We've spoken highly about him on the podcast before, and yeah, I think Wilder, again, brilliant manager. He's one of them, like you said. If you went and watched, if you were a Sheffield United fan and you went and watched them away from home, even if they got battered one week or if they got, dropped points where they shouldn't have dropped points, you still, at the end of the day, you won't be coming home, demoralised, depressed. You'd still think this, you'd have confidence in Wilder that he's going to sort it out, that he's going to tell the team they're not happy enough and that they will turn it around. And that's for me always what you look for in a manager. It's those when you come away from the ground and you just think this manager does not know what he's doing tactically. He doesn't have the passion. The players aren't playing for it. That is when your manager is at the worst possible point as a fan of that club, and you never get that with Wilder.
He's literally been successful at every club he's been at. So even Alfreton, where he started his managerial career, he was manager of them for 27 weeks and he won 4 trophies.
Wow.
He's just got it in. He's just absolutely unbelievable.
But he's genuinely like one of the nicest blokes in football as well. So we went for Sporting Life. I went with George at Sporting Life, who interviewed him, and he was just like the nicest bloke ever. So welcoming, was really patient. I spoke to him a little bit about the time that he was at Bradford, and I had like a picture of me and him when I was a really little kid. And he was just like, he didn't just like, oh yeah, because he's probably had pictures taken with thousands of kids. He was like, oh my God, I remember that. And I remember that car park, and it's outside the back of the Midland Road stand. He was just like the nicest bloke ever. And I think if that sort of thing translates into a changing room, listening to players' issues, also being able to motivate players, then, I mean, that must be the secret behind his success, because he's literally not been unsuccessful as a manager, has he? He's been successful everywhere.
I mean, if you were a player, you absolutely, if you knew that you were going to get signed by Sheffield United, or they wanted you under Chris Wilder, you'd absolutely jump at the opportunity, wouldn't you? I think that speaks volumes for how good he is. An absolute solid choice. I think I have to agree with you.
I think the big thing as well, as a fan, if you're a Sheffield United fan, sort of having a manager who's Sheffield born and bred, is Sheffield United through and through. Obviously started his football career then after getting released at Southampton. So what he's done, as obviously playing for the club, born in Sheffield, and then took the team up from obviously League One right to the Premier League, and like I said, on the verge of Europe. It's just, if you want to describe in terms of who you want your manager to be, you would sort of say Chris Wilder's background. You do want a legend of your own club to take you through that, and that's what I hope of Stuart McCall one day, lads. I'm hoping McCall will take us through to the Prem and onto Europe. You never know, eh?
Well, third time trying.
Keep the dream alive. Keep the dream alive.
There's not many people get 3 bites of the cherry.
Yeah, true.
I think we had it for a bit with Grayson, Mike. I completely agree. When we had Grayson and we were, start to steamroll. Well, I say steamroll. We limped over the finish line in League One, but we beat Man United. We drew to Tottenham in the away straight after that in the FA Cup. Then we got into the Championship and we challenged. That time was glorious again, because that Grayson was really wearing his heart on his sleeve and playing good, attacking, aggressive football. And completely agree. But for now, I'll more than take an Argentinian god.
Who's that then?
Solid. Luciano Becchio.
So, ending on that note, a very positive note for the Yorkshire folk, as Chris Wilder, I think, there was probably our favourite manager. I don't think anyone else.
After Bielsa, yeah.
No one else comes close. As far as success in English, anyway, we won't. I don't want.
We've been there.
I don't want. Let's not rehash it. So that's it. That's it for this week's Yorkshire Football Podcast, where it was a bit of a squad special. We picked these 3 strong Yorkshire sides. Adam will be putting them on the Yorkshire Football Podcast's social media feeds very soon, and you'll be able to vote on who you think will win. Over the next week or so, hopefully as well, Tom Carndorf, he'll be simulating those games. No pressure, Tom.
No, I've got to do it now. So yeah, I'll get to it.
So he'll simulate those games, and we should get some good results. So from me, Dom, and from the rest of our guests, it's goodbye, and until next week.